It begins with a contradiction. A country often labeled as poor, yet filled with some of the happiest, most resourceful, and warm-hearted people on earth. A place where resilience wears a smile, and where the human spirit seems to shine even brighter amid hardship. When most outsiders hear Philippines, they imagine crowded cities, aging infrastructure, or economic struggle. But what they don't see, what the statistics often fail to capture, is a quiet revolution of creativity, education, and global influence unfolding beneath the surface. From call centers that power global communication, to communities turning adversity into art, and to a culture of care that's now being exported to every corner of the world, the Philippines isn't just surviving. It's redefining what strength, wealth, and success really mean in the 21st century. What if poor was never the full story, only the surface of something far richer? If stories like this fascinate you, make sure to subscribe and join us as we uncover more of the world's hidden connections. And tell us where you're watching from, because today we're traveling deep in the heart of Southeast Asia to discover why the Philippines might just be one of the world's most misunderstood nations. It starts with an image, an overhead shot of Manila at sunrise. Golden light spills over tin rooftops, tangled power lines, and a skyline of contradictions. Skyscrapers beside shanties, glass towers beside rusted tin homes. For decades, this image has been the world's shorthand for the Philippines, a country of contrasts, caught between poverty and progress. But here's the truth. Much of what the world knows about the Philippines was shaped by a story written long ago, by colonial narratives, by foreign headlines, by outdated statistics repeated until they became reality. Western news agencies once portrayed the archipelago as a nation in perpetual recovery, recovering from colonization, from dictatorship, from typhoons, from poverty. What they often missed was how the Filipino people were not waiting to be rescued. They were busy rebuilding, reinventing, and reaching out to the world. In the eyes of many outsiders, the Philippines is poor. Yet, walk its streets, and you'll find something that rarely fits that label. Children laughing in narrow alleys, families gathering around shared meals, small businesses springing from nothing but creativity and willpower. There's an energy here, humble yet unstoppable, that can't be measured in GDP or global rankings. For a long time, the problem wasn't poverty itself. It was perception. The Philippines was framed as a nation of scarcity, while quietly becoming one of abundance in spirit, skill, and adaptability. The misunderstanding didn't just distort how the world saw Filipinos. It shaped how Filipinos saw themselves. To understand this misunderstanding, we have to go back to history. Centuries of colonization by Spain and later the United States left behind more than architecture and religion. They left behind a worldview. The Philippines was painted as a pupil, a nation forever learning from its Western teachers. This narrative, embedded in school books and global media, lingered long after independence. Even as the country modernized, the image of dependency remained. But look closer, and you'll find a parallel story, one that unfolded quietly beneath the radar of global attention. In rural provinces, families sent their children to school no matter how far to walk or how limited the income. In bustling cities, young professionals adapted to every new technology and global market faster than anyone expected. Overseas, Filipino nurses, engineers, and caregivers became the world's unsung backbone, their skills, empathy, and endurance redefining what global labor looked like. The irony is striking. While many nations measured wealth and material gain, the Philippines was exporting something more profound: human warmth, adaptability, and linguistic talent. A people once seen as developing became the very force developing the rest of the world. The misunderstanding wasn't just economic, it was emotional. The world mistook humility for weakness, simplicity for stagnation. But beneath every small home and street corner karaoke bar lies a story of extraordinary strength and quiet ambition. The question now is, how did this spirit transform from survival into global influence? The story shifts from perception to power. Somewhere in a bustling call center in Cebu, a young woman answers a call from across the world. Her English is fluent, neutral, confident, her tone warm and professional. The person on the other end has no idea she's halfway across the planet, sitting beneath fluorescent lights, surrounded by hundreds of others doing the same. To many, it's just a job. To the Philippines, it's an empire, one built on voices. Over the past 2 decades, the Philippines has become the voice of the modern world, with millions working in the business process outsourcing BPO industry. This archipelago of 7,000 islands now powers customer service for America, education for Japan, and digital operations for Europe. What began as outsourced labor has evolved into a new kind of national identity, where communication itself became currency. But it's not just about call centers. It's about transformation. From online teachers coaching students in South Korea to digital freelancers editing videos for clients in Canada, the Filipino workforce has turned the internet into an equalizer. Armed with English fluency, empathy, and cultural adaptability, they've turned global connectivity into opportunity in a world where language bridges wealth. Filipinos have quietly become architects, building invisible connections that keep economies running. The world doesn't just hear them, it runs because of them. And yet, this hidden prosperity isn't only economic, it's deeply cultural. Hidden prosperity often begins not with riches, but with values, the kind that survive storms, power cuts, and centuries of change. In the Philippines, that value is community, or as locals call it, bayanihan. It's the spirit of helping one another without being asked, of carrying not just burdens, but dreams together. You can see in the way Filipinos rebuild after typhoons, strangers forming human chains to pass sandbags, neighbors sharing food, and laughter even when electricity is gone. You can feel in the overseas worker who spends Christmas thousands of miles from home, sending money not just to sustain, but to uplift. These small acts, repeated millions of times, for an invisible economy, one built on care, sacrifice, and faith. While global headlines still speak of poverty rates, inside homes across the archipelago, families are building a different kind of wealth, one measured in education, connection, and hope. Every remittance sent, every online job completed, every overseas nurse who comforts a patient in London or Dubai, all of it fuels a collective rise. This is the quiet revolution of the Filipino people, turning compassion into commerce, turning resilience into relevance. It's not the kind of prosperity that glitters, but the kind that lasts, born from endurance, empathy, and faith in tomorrow. And in that transformation lies a truth the world is only beginning to see. The Philippines was never poor, just underestimated. But what does this reveal about the true meaning of wealth itself? Wealth. It's a word that usually brings to mind glass towers, luxury cars, and foreign bank accounts. But in the Philippines, wealth takes a different shape. It lives in the laughter of families gathered under a bamboo roof, in the pride of a mother whose child finishes college, in the faith of a fisherman who prays before dawn and sails into uncertain seas. Here, abundance is not measured by possessions, but by persistence. It's the resilience that outlasts storms, the warmth that survives distance, the optimism that rebuilds again and again. In a world obsessed with numbers, the Philippines quietly teaches something profound, that happiness is not a privilege of the rich, but a choice of the hopeful. Perhaps that's why visitors often leave changed. They come expecting to see struggle, and instead, they find strength. They arrive curious and leave humbled, because the greatest wealth of the Filipino people cannot be counted, only felt. It's in their kindness, their humor, their relentless hope in the face of uncertainty. When you look closely, the Philippines is more than a nation. It's a living reminder that human value can't be reduced to currency. In the crowded jeepneys and quiet villages, in the neon-lit cities and distant provinces, there's a lesson unfolding. Progress isn't only about profit. It's about people. Every smile shared across a screen, every nurse's comforting voice in a foreign hospital, every teacher guiding a student through an online lesson. These are the real exports of the Philippines. Not products, but presence. Not goods, but grace. Maybe that's why the country's story feels so different from the one told in statistics. Because while numbers can measure income, they can't measure impact. They can count money, but not meaning. And so, the next time someone calls the Philippines poor, remember this. Its truest riches are not found in banks, but in hearts, in the generosity that survives scarcity, in the hope that endures hardship, and in the joy that refuses to fade. The world is finally beginning to notice. But for Filipinos, this truth was never hidden. It was home,